Coming from the land down under, these all-solid acoustic guitars might just be some of the most wallet-friendly out there. Let's check out the Clark Studio Series. Clark are an acoustic, and actually I'd maybe call them more of a hybrid, because if you've seen some of their acoustic guitars that have got electric guitar pickups in them, you can't really classify them as fully acoustic guitar makers. But for just easiness sake, I'll just call them acoustic guitar makers from Australia, who are producing some of the coolest wood combinations on acoustic guitars that I've seen in a long time, and certainly keeping it a little bit more native to Australia, certainly from what the guys over there are, they've got to hand. And also sustainability is, of course, one of their big key factors as well, just by using, again, trees that are kind of close to them, but then also just moving away from those more traditional sort of wood pairings we've seen on acoustic guitars over the years. I've got 3 models with me today that are all part of the Studio Series, and I'm going to be focusing on each one, and particularly the wood choices that have gone into each of them, and let you hear kind of the differences between all 3. So if there is a particular one that you want to check out, you can check the timeline of the video, skip to whichever one you're going to do. I'm only going to really go over the specs of the one that I'm going to start with, which is, spoiler alert, the Bunya and the Queensland Maple version, just because all the specs between all the 3 guitars are pretty much the same except the wood choice that has gone into them. So if you do want to check that out, I'll be going over that, obviously, with the first guitar. And as always, if you do like the video at all, like and subscribe, get all the YouTube stuff out the way first. But let's just jump in with the very first one, as I said, which is the Bunya and the Queensland Maple. So to give it its full Sunday name, this is the Clark Studio GA Bunya and Queensland Maple guitar. The GA being quite important because that refers to the actual body size, which what Clark use for this is Grand Auditorium, which it's not your biggest one, it's not your smallest one, it sits very much in the middle and is a really good kind of frequency spectrum across the board in terms of nice lows, really balanced highs, and a good mid-range as well. But we were just very quickly listen to this before I jump into the specs and whatnot. I feel that the Bunya and the Queensland Maple is kind of your classic sort of like spruce and rosewood combo, with the Bunya, which is Clark's most used wood across their ranges. That's very tonally similar characteristic to spruce, and actually obviously has the kind of light sort of look to it as well. Whereas if we're looking at the Queensland Maple, which, you would probably assume that to be a lot brighter, a lot more akin to, like a jumbo kind of sized J200 or something like that, but sonically, according to Clark anyway, that they are saying that this has got a lot in common with Brazilian rosewood, so that classic pairing. So let's just hear this acoustically first, shall we? Left that just ringing there just for a little second because the harmonic overtones are really starting to shine with that when I just kind of let the notes go. But yeah, on first impression, like there's nothing out of the ordinary when you would compare that to something like a spruce or a rosewood. If I did have something that was very similar, I'm sure there would be slight sonic differences because, each bit of wood, species of wood or whatnot is going to have something ever so slightly different to the next. But certainly to my ear, that's very on brand for kind of your classic acoustic sounding guitar, something that'll sit really nice in a mix. So obviously Bunya and Queensland Maple are 2 not so common woods used across other guitar brands, but they're Cole Clark actually use a couple of other woods as well, which very sort of uncommon, you know, much the same as the other ones, but I guess quite native to Australia, which is quite cool. But they actually use eucalyptus for the bridge and the fingerboard there. Use African mahogany for the neck as well, which is quite standard, and that's obviously going to give you that kind of slightly darker sound as well. But everything else about the guitar, you know, just looks really, really nice. You have this bit of abalone around the sound hole here, which looks awesome. And you'll see when I pick up the other guitars as well, just obviously them being slightly different woods are going to look different. But one cool thing about Cole Clark is that each of their guitars, certainly for us anyway, we'll individually photograph them for our websites, because each one of the tops, each one of the backs, each one of the sides all look completely different. You can find, like, you know, guitars like this, which have got these really quite obvious like stripes on them and all these sort of different colors and everything like that, which just, you can really kind of pick something that suits your personality and something that you think just looks awesome. It's almost like the colors on an electric guitar, which is cool. But when, you know, other little bits and pieces on the guitar which just make it this, that stand out that a little bit more as well. There's like the wood purfling around the side and the back there. We have a bound fingerboard as well, which I'd need to confirm, but I'm sure that is the Queensland mahogany, maple on the bound fingerboard also. And even just like, you know, a little bit of abalone, a little bit of mother of pearl in the inlays there just look awesome. One of the other things that's really awesome about Cole Clark's, which I'll just focus on with this model as well, is actually the pickup system that they put into them, which is the Cole Clark PG3 pickup. Now, the first thing that I was told about Cole Clark when I was introduced to them only, you know, a couple of years ago, was actually how good they sound plugged in. It's one of the things that they really, really champion, and it's one of the things that like a lot of people kind of gravitate towards them, especially if you do play live at all with these guitars. And if I can just turn that around, I'll let you have a look at just the preamp system there. There's a couple of controls on there, nothing too crazy that you wouldn't expect to see. There's a couple of different ones as well, which I'll highlight just when we get some sound going on this just now. So to kind of preface this, you've got a couple of different options, particularly with where, because it does actually have like a body pickup and a bridge piezo as well, which I'll even just show you what happens when I change that to the body one. You can hear that kind of rubbing a little bit more than you would with a piezo. But what I'll do is I'll just play a couple of bars of something, and then I'll just change where the pickup is sitting just so you can hear it. And you get 3-band EQ on that as well, but I'm going to leave that pretty neutral just for the sound examples here. Some of those sounds there are leaning a little bit more towards the body pickup, some of the other ones leaning more towards the bridge piezo there as well. But that's one of the super cool things, especially if somebody is doing a lot more live playing, is that you'll be able to get it to kind of the exact perfect sort of blend, you know, wherever you would need it to as well. There is also a boost to the microphone that's in there as well if you do need to, which from listening to it pre-filming here, it kind of just gives it like, if you turn it down, it gets a little bit warmer. You turn it up, it kind of gets a little bit fuller and brighter as well. I'll show you, I'll turn it all the way down first here. again, very situational, and there may be, you know, no need for you to use that preamp in there if you aren't playing live or anything. So obviously some of the other sounds that you've heard of this particular model will be just acoustically. We're using them just with the microphones right now as well. But outside of the ordinary, there's nothing really, you know, crazy about the setup of this guitar. I actually really like that kind of shallower cutaway there. Aesthetically, I just think it looks quite cool. But, you know, stuff like a 25.5-inch scale length on this. You've got Grover tuners installed. You can put the battery compartment just at the bottom there, right next to the input if you need it. And then a little touch, there's like a volute on the back of the headstock as well. So, you know, no frills with these guitars. I think they're just like, the main thing with them being, you know, a little bit more understated, so they can really just focus on the all solid and the sounds of the woods that you're getting with them. And on that note, let's move on to our next one. So the next one that I want to talk about here still has the Queensland maple backing sides there, but this one has actually got a Redwood top on here. So you're still going to get that kind of like Brazilian rosewood sort of sound quality with the backing sides with this one. But what I was reading while doing a little bit of research for this video and for Clark is that the Redwood top here, it's quite similar to cedar in the sense that it's going to be really good for finger picking. It's going to have that slight little bit more kind of warmth and compression about it. And then even just in terms of, you know, the look of this one, I think this is probably the most striking one that we've got with us today, just with that kind of go faster stripe up the middle there, which if you have seen, you should definitely jump to our website if you haven't seen them before, just because each one of them has got such a unique sort of look to them. You know, different sort of stripes, different sort of like patterns that are on the bits of wood, which again just makes it that much, little bit more unique to you. And you can spot yours out in a line if there was similar other Clarks sitting about. But let's check this one out. I'm maybe going to do a little bit more finger picking on it as well, just so you can really hear that come through. So even with my nailless fingers, with a down tune down to D standard and also a slightly warmer wood as well, definitely feel there was a lot of really cool note definition in that, and also just like there was a real balance between just when it was hitting those slightly lower notes and then trying to get the definition of the higher notes as well. And it does have the same pickup system in it, so as you would imagine, this plugged in is also going to sound great, and you're able to adjust your EQ. But let's just very quickly hear it with plectrum as well. Just you're going to get a lot more of the kind of frequency range with that. And bear in mind, again, I am tuned down a full step with this guitar. Cool, moving on to our last guitar of the day as well. Again, Studio GA, Grand Auditorium, but this one is actually an all Blackwood model, which back and the sides there are all Blackwoods as opposed to the Queensland maple. And then obviously all the other bits are all exactly the same. So let's just jump in right with some sounds with this one. Bum note aside, I think we got an idea of just exactly the kind of sound difference with this as well. The thing about Blackwood, certainly from Clark, what they're saying as well, is this has got a somewhat kind of similar properties to Koa, so very kind of well balanced across in terms of its frequency spectrum. And I think much the same as Koa as well. Not only has it got, you know, quite a sort of distinct sort of pattern to it as well. That back there looks amazing. I mean, that just, let's take a second to marvel at that. But then, much like Koa as well, it is just going to adapt and it's going to kind of settle in that a little bit more as well, kind of as you play them a lot more. I think that's one of the cool things about these guitars is, you know, it makes that sort of all solid construction, I think, just that little bit more obtainable for a lot of people as well, because it's certainly the way that sort of I would describe it to people is obviously your laminate or your non-solid, I guess, woods. That's, you know, your first step into acoustics. But then that solid top and laminate or whatever method the company uses back and sides, that kind of like can go quite far up, I feel, and certainly maybe until you are over the sort of £1,000 range, maybe into like 2 and 3 as well. That's when you're going to start really seeing like really nice all solid guitars. But with these guitars just coming over just over £1,000 as well, and with the capabilities to plug them in and have such a good pickup system if you do need that at all, and just, you know, having the all solid guitar that's going to adapt with you, you're going to kind of get to know it a little bit more, and it's just going to change with you along with your playing. I think it's just really, really cool. But let me know what you think about the Clark Studio series down in the comments below. And as I mentioned before, if you did like the video, considering liking and subscribing, it really does help the channel. But until next time, I've been Kieran, and this has been a look at some of the Clark Studio GA series. Have a great day.